Damon found that these fairness principles developed slowly over the ages of 4 to 10 mostly. There were some hints that even earlier there may be self-serving notions of fairness. But his methods, of course, they only included interview, really thorough and excellent interviews. But the interview method meant that younger children and babies' moral concepts just couldn't be tapped. But sometimes even an 18-month-old or 24-month-old can seem pretty thoughtful and wise and considerate about how to distribute resources. But can what these very young children do, these toddlers, reasonably be deemed representative of a sense of fairness? Since Damon, researchers have been investigating infants and toddlers' expectations about morally relevant behaviors such as fairness. Since they can't ask them, researchers gauge infants' thinking by measuring where and how long infants look at things, usually with eye tracking equipment. These are called looking time studies, and they are usually conducted with the understanding that infants look longer at one particular point or object when they're paying attention to it. They look longer at that object when it's not what they expected, when it surprises them. This violation of expectation paradigm takes advantage of this infant behavior, and it lets researchers understand what babies are processing as normal versus what babies process as unusual or unexpected. The method has allowed researchers to infer a lot about infant morality. They interpret their looking time as an indicator of infants' inferences about norms, including, as we'll see, norms about fairness. In one study by Sloan and colleagues, they examined expectations of fairness in 19 to 20-month-old infants. The researchers were interested in whether the babies would show looking time behavior that suggested that they were sensitive to fairness in the form of equality, equal allocations. To do this, they had the infants look at a pair of giraffes jumping up enthusiastically in a box. So the babies are interested in these fast-moving toys. Then they're presented with an experimenter hand coming in from the side, and the experimenter distributes a toy or some cookies, some kind of positive object to both giraffes, either in equal amounts, where each giraffe got a toy, or in unequal amounts, where one giraffe got 2 and the other giraffe got nothing. And this was essentially the experiment. Do babies look longer when there is an unequal distribution? Is there something abnormal, unusual, unexpected about these animated giraffes, one getting 2 and the other one getting nothing? Do they expect equality? The researchers found that these 19-month-old infants in their first experiment looked significantly longer at the unequal event compared to the equal event. So infants expected that resources would be divided equally. This is a really big finding in developmental psychology because previously there hadn't been good evidence that children this young were operating under principles that would look like fairness principles at that age, and in fact equality principles. You might think, is this really about social moral processing at that age? Maybe it's something else, something more objective about numeracy. The researchers conducted an inanimate control condition, and they actually found, in that case, no expectations no difference in expectations across the unequal and equal events. And in this case, a sort of an instrument had come in and deposited the toys to the giraffes. And in this case, the babies didn't seem to be engaging the same kind of thinking. But what if these results could be explained by babies preferring like things to go with like things? So for example, matching number of giraffe with number of toy. So that would actually look like an equal event. And preferring that over that sort of unequal, unsymmetrical, unequal distribution. To figure this out, they created a cover control condition. And here, basically, the babies just saw the outcome. They didn't see the experimenter, and she didn't come in and distribute the toys. They just kind of pulled the cover off of the toys, showing the infants either, one toy per giraffe or an unequal distribution. And in this case, again, they didn't see a significant difference in looking time across the unequal and equal events, suggesting that it's something about this, it's a human inference about a social moral consideration that involves human beings, not inanimate objects, and not simply perception of symmetry. Okay, so Sloan and colleagues showed that 19-month-olds seem to be aware of the equality principle and prefer to see equal allocations. In their second study, they looked at slightly older infants, 21-month-olds, and they were interested in this case in their awareness of the equity principle, or the possibility that these toddlers were sort of operating under a more advanced moral reasoning stage of understanding that rewards are typically proportional to contribution. In this study, an experimenter was situated centrally, and there were two experimenters to the left and to the right, and the baby is looking at this whole scene inside a sort of stage. And the experiment exclaims, coming in, "Wow, look at all these toys." There's a pile of toys in the middle between these two other experimenters. The experimenter says, "It's time to clean them up. If you put the toys away, you can have a sticker." "See, I have stickers." "If you put the toys away, you can have a sticker." And actually shows the stickers to the infant who's watching all of this. And next, in the to-work condition, both the left and the right side experimenter pick up those toys, and they pick up equal amounts of toys, and they put them in their own containers, and they've tidied up, both of them. The experimenter comes back and says, "Wow, good job cleaning up all those toys." And at that point, the experimenter gives a sticker to the experimenter on the left, and also a sticker to the experimenter on the right. And so rewards were allocated proportional to the work that the two put in collecting those toys. They each got one sticker for doing the same amount of work. There was also an implicit condition. And in that case, the experimenter didn't announce that she had stickers for them. She merely rewarded them at the end equally for the toy cleanup. So in that case, the infants aren't, learning explicitly that there is a reward to come. But at the end, they see that a reward happens. And there they wanted to see if it's implicit that this reward is associated with merit, are they still going to see the same kind of behavior in those infants? In the other condition in this experiment, it begins again with the two experimenters in this pile of toys, and the third experimenter coming in and saying, "Wow, look at all these toys, it's time to clean them up. If you put the toys away, you can have a sticker. See, I have stickers. If you put the toys away, you can have a sticker." So in this case, the one works condition, only one of those experimenters cleans up, and the other one just kind of stands there doing nothing. And they successfully, that one experimenter, she cleans up all of the toys herself. The experimenter comes back, and this time says, wow, good job cleaning up all the toys, just as the other time, and actually allocates again one sticker for each of them, even though only the experimenter on the left had actually cleaned up. The other one had just stood there. And so the baby sees that these two experimenters on the left and right each got a sticker when, in fact, only the experimenter on the left had done any work cleaning up the toys. Let's see what they found when they compared mean looking time between the one works and the two work event. What they found was that both in the explicit and the implicit versions of these, they got a significant difference between the one works and both works looking time values. In particular, babies looked longer when 2 rewards were given out to each experimenter when only one of them did any work, suggesting they expected rewards given to each experimenter when each experimenter contributed. This was a big finding. We're seeing infants at 21 months showing recognition of the equity or merit principle in their looking time behavior. Of course, they can't articulate any sort of understanding of that principle, and so there's a gap between what they apparently understand and what they can communicate. These babies may expect a principle to play out in the world through how objects are allocated, but they're incapable of actually enacting that same kind of allocation or even recognizing it consciously until much later, and then we learn about it through their communication. We can think about this in relation to Damon. At that point, children aged 6 to 9 they're able to communicate about their sensitivity to merit or proportionality. And so researchers assumed, well, it just wasn't functional. This sort of cognition just wasn't there. The studies that we just saw by Sloan and colleagues were really important because they were some of the first pieces of evidence that younger infants and toddlers were actually showing an understanding of principles related to fairness that were believed to not develop until much later in childhood.